Welcome to Ayurveda and Spirituality with your host, Alakananda Ma, a renowned Ayurvedic expert and a graduate of a top London medical school. She is the principal of Alundi Ayurveda Gurukula, a unique apprenticeship-style school in Boulder, Colorado. She is a spiritual mother, teacher, flower essence maker, and storyteller. Join us as we uncover the timeless principles of Ayurveda, discover practical tips for enhancing vitality, and explore the deeper dimensions of spirituality that intertwine with the ancient science of life.
Namaste. Welcome to our podcast. Today we're going to talk about aging well with Ayurveda, a topic that is pretty dear to my heart, seeing as how I myself am 74 and have had to contend with some pretty big ups and downs in the last year and a half as far as health goes. As I was mentioning to one of my patients earlier today, in Western astrology, we, the boomer generation, do have Pluto in Leo, and that affects our self-concept such that it's difficult to think of ourselves as being old or indeed anything other than youthful. We are a generation of those who are eternal children. Nevertheless, that clock ticks along, and we do have to take care of ourselves as we age. We all want to live a long life, but when we're thinking of living long, we're thinking of being healthy, vital, independent. We're not picturing ourselves languishing in a nursing home or needing help for the basic activities of daily living. But the reality is, outside of those who live in nursing homes, 15% of adults over 65 who live in the community do suffer from something known as frailty syndrome. And that can rise to 33% and beyond in the over 80s. To make matters worse, about 45%, that's nearly half of all elders, are pre-frail, and they do have some difficulty in carrying out activities of daily living. So how do we avoid frailty? How do we stay strong and avoid the ravages of old age? So Vriddhavastha, old age, is the last part of the lifespan. We pass through Balavastha, childhood, up to age 16, Madhyavastha, youth and middle age, from 16 to 60 or 70, depending which text you look at. I like Sushruta because then I didn't have to think about being old till I turned 70, but you pass that milestone eventually. Anyway, so we're all going to enter, if we live long enough, we're going to live long enough to come into this period known as Vriddhavastha, or old age, where the body starts to decay. The tissues decay, and it's harder to rebuild the dhatus of the bodily tissues. The sensory and motor organs undergo unwanted changes. Potency can undergo changes. Strength, speech, memory, intellect, reception, retention, analytic and ability, all our cognitive functions. We're coming into our vata time of life. And we start to see wrinkling, graying, baldness, and a diminishing ability to do physical work. So, as you come into your 60s, you have the big moment, your 60th birthday. Boom! You are coming into your jara, your Vriddhavastha, your jara, your elderhood, and you're coming into the vata time of life. Whatever your constitution, you may start to notice different vata concerns. This could include dry skin, aches and pains, arthritis, sleep problems, and some changes in your short-term memory. So let's think about diet, lifestyle, herbs, and our spiritual resilience as an active elder up to age 80, and then we'll talk more about the later period after 80. So what hasn't happened for me, but for most of you at some point in your 60s, you'll very likely retire. This is one of the biggest life changes. It changes everything: your diet, your meal plan, your lifestyle, your whole concept of yourself. So once you retire, everything does change. So review how you shop for, plan, and prepare your meals. I was just hearing on the radio how shopping habits are changing as everything gets more expensive with the current problems with the gas prices and the diesel prices. Food is getting more expensive. Do go with a shopping list rather than just going and buying things because you're hungry and it looks good. Go with a shopping list so you get the things you need, so you have a plan for the meals you're going to make and buy the ingredients accordingly. You have more time to plan your meals. You have more time to prepare your own meals. Retirement hobbies are a great thing, and if you want to cook already, take up cooking as a retirement hobby, and let's enjoy cooking as a sensory experience and enjoy the thrill of creativity and making new recipes. Look into how everyone in your household divides up the shopping and the cooking. Like I was saying, make a menu and shop with the things you need for your menu. And bear in mind that you're entering your Vata time of life. So you want more of a Vata-soothing diet, eating at regular times with plenty of soups, dals, khichiris. Those are the things that soothe Vata. And our digestion does become more delicate as we age. Sadanand says that he used to enjoy chomping on a whole jalapeno. Now he couldn't even think about it. We want to start cutting back on chilies, onions, garlic, sour seasonings, if there's any tendency to reflux or gastritis, which is something that can become more prevalent as we age. And if you have dentition challenges, you want to make sure your food is thoroughly cooked, soft, easy to chew. And enjoy your meals. You no longer have to work at your desk or talk business while you eat. Supper with Sadanand is one of life's beautiful moments. Setting everything up nicely, sitting down, relaxing, enjoying some delicious food. With lifestyle, you have entered your Vata time of life. Oil. Massage your whole body and your scalp with oil at least once a week. We call that Abhyanga. More often is fine. If you have time, you can do it daily. You want to massage the oil into your skin and then relax. If you have 20 minutes to relax, that's brilliant. If not, then sooner, but then take a hot shower or a warm bath. And you can get a medicated oil from us if you're one of our patients. Otherwise, you can use sesame oil for Vata, sunflower or coconut for Pitta, but only use coconut oil in summer because it's really cooling. You can blend coconut, castor, and flax for Kapha. Then, of course, a good exercise program. Keep going with those outdoor activities like walking and hiking. We want to do some things for flexibility, balance, and core strength. So that would be yoga, that would be qigong. What I have found is it's so much about your core, and if you lose your core strength, you'll age rapidly. But you want to make sure that you're choosing lower impact forms of exercise, things that are kind to your joints. Sometime around turning 60, I did give up running on hard surfaces, though still love to run on a trail for short distances. If it's icy or too cold outside, YouTube. There's Leslie Sanson's indoor walking videos. There's Layla Isaac's adorable, she's very adorable belly dance workout videos. And make sure you do Shavasana, at least 10 minutes of Shavasana after yoga to get some deep relaxation. New hobbies and activities, because you want to keep your brain young by building new synapses. That can be learning a musical instrument, that can be taking dance lessons, studying things you're interested in, be that painting, photography, pottery. When I turned 60, I went back to violin lessons. That was awesome. And I started taking singing lessons and belly dance. Also, if you are retired, you want to use the skills you've developed in your work life, whether that's some part-time work that you enjoy or whether that's some volunteering. And sexual activity. That is really important, however old we are. And older people are now using senior dating apps. Sex is not only for young people, but if you are dating, then you still need to use a condom. Even though you do not have the worries about pregnancy, you still need the condom because of chlamydia, gonorrhea, syphilis, and HIV, to which elders are very vulnerable. So please be careful. So now let's start to think more about frailty. Frailty is a syndrome that is known in Ayurveda as Jara Shosh. It's a frailty syndrome. You don't want to get it. It includes wasting of muscles, loss of weight, general apathy, weakness, low physical activity, low energy, slow walking speed, and in Ayurveda's description of Jara Shosh, or the wasting of old age, they also include cognitive impairment. While over 80s are the most likely to get frailty, you can get frailty at any age if you have a condition like heart disease, diabetes, COPD, arthritis, dementia, or if you go through a catastrophic event like a stroke or a major fall. Hip fractures really can lead to that downward spiral, or a major surgery. That's one that I went through. I had a major emergency surgery a year and a half ago, and I had to work really, really hard to regain my strength after that. So we want to make sure we don't develop frailty. We also, frailty definitely includes the shrinking, losing weight, dwindling. That is described as Jara Shosh. But Charak also says, when he talks about rasayana or rejuvenation, he lists another very important component of aging, which many of us struggle with, and that is known as sarcopenic obesity, where we gain weight and lose muscle. So Charak says that the changes of old age include the loss of compactness of the muscles, the shake out your triceps thing, looseness of the joints, excessive production of meda, that is adipose tissue, and loss of mamsa, that is muscle tissue. So these are pretty important problems. So how are we going to deal with this? With exercise, use it or lose it when it comes to muscle strength, because the key component, both of frailty itself and of sarcopenic obesity, which is a kind of pre-frailty, is what we call nowadays sarcopenia, loss of muscle bulk. In Ayurveda, it's called mumsashai. It can so easily happen if you get bedridden due to an illness, if you lead a sedentary lifestyle, or if arthritis is limiting your ability to exercise. So you really have to prioritize an exercise program that does include walking and does include yoga. Do enjoyable things for exercise. Exercise is supposed to be a hobby, not a punishment. I really admire how vigorously Mick Jagger dances. He is over 80 and he still does these super energetic 2-hour shows, dancing, running and jumping on stage. He has a really rigorous training routine that includes running, kickboxing, ballet, and Pilates. Well, I'm nowhere near where he is, but I did take up belly dance, as I told you, and I do hope to be dancing all my life. What I have started saying is you need exercises as well as exercise. If you don't have any specific conditions, maybe your yoga or your qigong practice will be enough. If you have any specific musculoskeletal conditions that you're working with, you want to see a yoga therapist or a physical therapist and get a specific routine for you, and the therapist will help you to progress with your routine so that instead of just maintaining or slowly going downhill, you do increase in your strength. And you have to be very, very determined with your exercise. That can be hard sometimes. After that big surgery I told you about, I complained to the pelvic therapist, physical therapist, that I was so weak, and she gave me just a teeny weeny, very basic little set of exercises to build my muscle strength. I had to do them every other day, and they would wipe me out. And by the time I got over being wiped out by them, it was time to start again. But I had to just keep going because I was determined to get my strength back and be able to garden and hike and do the things I love. So an incremental regimen, slowly increasing your aerobic exercise, how long you walk, how fast you walk, slowly increase your strength training. You can get back to your pre-setback norm, or you can find ways to build your energy. And if you need walking aids, you need them. That's okay. Nutrition. There are so many things that can affect our nutrition as we're aging, especially as we're in our over 80s. We may feel tired or get backache when we're cooking. We may not be able to chew our food. We may not have the money to buy the food. So if cooking's too tiring, let's use simpler recipes. Our alumnus Danielle Martin has a beautiful book, the 30-Minute Ayurvedic Cookbook, so you could make recipes from that book that are easier to make. You can make enough for a few meals. That's honestly what we do. Refrigerators are a useful thing, and we do eat leftovers. Some people even like to freeze some portions for later. If chewing is really a problem, try nourishing drinks. My friend Amadea Morningstar has a nice book, Easy Healing Drinks from the Wisdom of Ayurveda. Make sure you cook your vegetables till they are soft, and make soups and kitcheries that require less chewing, that are easy to digest. Hop over to alandiashram.org and click the drop down on recipes, and you can get all kinds of great soups and dals. So really, preventing frailty or recovering from a state of pre-frailty after a big setback involves 5 steps. And step 1, we've talked about exercise. Step 2, making sure you get really high quality nutrition. That eating bread and margarine and tea because one doesn't have the energy to make a meal and can't afford real food, that is the classic story of how an elder slowly slips away. You need to have some good food. You need the antioxidants from fruits and vegetables. Try to stay away from bad snacks, ultra-processed foods. They may seem easy, but they're hard on your brain and your body. And there are probably resources available for you, be that a lunch at the senior center, be that Meals on Wheels. There probably are resources available so you can get good food. The third step of not having frailty or recovering from frailty is sleep, which Shakespeare describes as chief nourisher in life's feast. There are so many reasons why elders don't sleep well. Pain can make it difficult to sleep. So massage the painful areas with a pain-relieving oil. We like Mahanarayana oil. You can also use castor oil and doing your yoga or your physical therapy. It is the Vata time of life, so Vata can cause that restless sleep. I find it really helpful to massage the soles of my feet at bedtime. Really helps with a sound sleep. Doing that Abhyanga that we talked about earlier, that can really help. And take the TV out of the bedroom, take all the screens out of the bedroom, start settling down an hour before bedtime. I love to sip a chamomile tea and read, but not a scary book, journal, meditate. It can be really helpful too to get a nap, especially if you're in the over 80s. Try to get 1 or 2 short naps during the day before you get overtired. And luckily for us, meditation bestows so many of the physiological benefits of sleep that 20 minutes of meditation can equal 3 hours of sleep. So that'll help you physically and mentally as well as spiritually. Our oral health, it's so important in our longevity. It's so important in recovering from frailty or preventing frailty. The bacteria that cause gum disease do contribute to chronic inflammation, and that's what underlies conditions like heart disease and Alzheimer's. So daily oil pulling with sesame oil, or we can provide you with a gandush oil, a medicated oil. I find it's absolutely fantastic. Just watch out you don't clog the sink with the oil. I spit mine out into paper towels to make sure I don't clog my sink. And then loving life. Loving life is so important. When we have passion and we love life, it really supports our longevities. But as we age, we have more sorrows. We lose our loved ones. We have to come to terms with all the diminishments of aging. But we do have greater wisdom, and that helps us to have the ability to be happy whatever our outer circumstances. So one of the key things that I've noticed throughout my life about healthy aging is to stay involved with others. Stay involved in the lives of your loved ones, your children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, great-nieces, great-nephews. Stay involved in their lives, stay involved with your friends. Most of all, continue to care deeply about your fellow beings. This is something I really admire about Boulder's elders. When we were out at the No Kings protest, at least in the segment of the protest I was in, I thought I was one of the younger people who had come out to protest. I saw many people that needed an array of walking aids to participate in that protest. I was glad it was a walking protest because the really, really hard thing for me is standing still. So I was glad we got to walk a mile and a bit on our protest, but staying involved in causes that you care about, being they causes about human rights, causes about the environment. Sadanand and I have been so much involved in human rights causes, with our big focus having been on Syria, and that is now going so much better. Our hard work saw some rewards. We deeply care about Palestine. We deeply care about all the people who are suffering from violations of their rights. If you deeply care about causes and you work for them, that is a wonderful way to stay strong. We boomers were adventurous, we're tech savvy, we're highly individuated, and we will not go gentle into that good night. We'd rather have a zafu than a rocking chair as we continue our inner and outer explorations. As T.S. Eliot said in East Coca, old men ought to be explorers. Here and there does not matter. We must be still and still moving into another intensity for a further union, a deeper communion through the dark cold and empty desolation, the wave cry, the wind cry, the vast waters of the petrel and the paupers. In my end is my beginning. Namaste.
Thank you for tuning in to Ayurveda and Spirituality with Alakananda Ma. We hope today's exploration has ignited a spark of curiosity and insight within you. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to leave us a 5-star review and share it with a friend. For more enlightening discussions and practical wisdom on Ayurveda and spirituality, subscribe and join our Facebook group, Alundi Ayurveda. To allow us to continue sharing valuable content, consider donating to Alundi Ashram. The links will be in the show notes. Until next time, may you walk the path of Ayurveda with grace and embrace the light of spiritual wisdom in your journey. Trayambakam yajamahe sugandhim pushtivadano